anything which you would like to discuss. Any doubts, any questions, any issues. No? Okay.
Yeah, uh, actually, I want to know about virgin dimension. I mean, yesterday I've gone through learning.anaplan.com.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I remember we talk about version. Like we can create the different version for the model scenario, like forecast and actual.
Mm-hmm.
But can you show me in Anaplan how practically it's work?
Okay. Anything else apart from that? And yesterday also you asked some question, right? So like, do you have an access to the model now, and you can show me what you were asking yesterday?
Uh, which one?
I think yesterday you asked some question related with time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You answered to that question. The
Okay, okay.
extra
I did
weeks,
already.
yeah,
Oh, okay, okay, okay. I did
yeah,
already.
yeah.
Okay,
Extra week is there for leap year, no? That's
okay.
all.
Sure, 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 sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so version we are going to be covering separately. Okay, don't worry.
Okay.
It's there into the course. We'll cover it in some time.
Mhm. And
Anything else apart
also
from that?
the calendar type as well, right? The general weeks and
I think we covered that already, right?
yeah, weeks and time calendar we have covered. But there is general weeks and weeks 13 4.
No, so like, see, the idea would be more like, if you just use it
Mm-hmm.
while, using or while configuring, did you had any issues, any specific thing which you didn't understood? Because the options would be more or less same over there. Now it
Oh.
depends upon your requirement where you want to
Mhm.
use what.
So it's depend on the user requirement.
Business,
We
yep.
have to select it, right?
Yes, yes, yes. It depends on the business requirement, and accordingly you need to select it.
Oh.
Like,
So
but
general weeks will give weeks wise data only, right?
correct, correct, correct. But there will not be any new configuration, where you would need my
Mm-hmm.
input to explain you over there.
Okay.
You just try
Okay.
exploring it. It would
Mm-hmm.
be pretty much simple and straightforward.
Okay. Okay, Abhishek. Yeah, will do. Yeah. Thank you.
No worries. So, where you guys are in the terms of completion of the exercises, like a quick, uh, like info if you guys can give, like till where you have completed in learning.anaplan.com.
Actually, today morning only I got the access. So
Okay.
we'll create list and all today. Yesterday I've just done the practice on your workspace for time and version only.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. So, okay. And Milu, how about you?
Um, I just got access to a workspace, so I'm going through the learning, and I'm just trying to go ahead and just get familiar with Anaplan and start doing the exercises.
Okay. And that's fine. That's fine. Please try to do that. Okay. Please try to get aligned at least till lesson 4. Okay, so that you don't discover any issues later, or we are not uh, missed out in the terms of those exercises completion as such. All right, so that is one thing. So let's get started for the today's topic. And what was the last topic which we discussed the other day? You guys remember? So what was the last topic which we discussed yesterday?
Yeah, we have covered subset yesterday.
All right, so we covered subset, and probably then we would have discussed about some other, like advantages and disadvantages. Then we would have discussed modules at a very high level, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so today is going to be a little tough day for me. I have to do a lot of blabbering. Okay, it's going to be a little theoretical today. We are going to be understanding little about the concepts of doing things into Anaplan. And I'll just quickly share my screen and we'll get started for the day. All right. All right. right, so the course objective of the today's module is going to be, we are going to be discussing about the modules overview, then we'll discuss about plans, and then we'll discover about disco. All right, so we are going to be discussing about modules. So we already did the other day. Then there's something like plans and disco. These are the certain standards which Anaplan recommends you to follow while you are creating your module or anything as such. We'll discuss briefly about all of them. All right, so there comes the statement that Joseph says us. I believe you guys remember who Joseph was.
Yes.
All right, so that functional guy of that XYZ organization whose real-time use case we already did. Did we discuss this slide yesterday? No, right?
No.
Okay. All right. So he says, like, thanks a lot for helping me to understand where should I be putting in my data sets. Now I can easily put in all data sets into Anaplan, like we covered about time and lists. Now he says what next we should be doing. And if you guys remember, the initial requirement he has as a sales manager, I am looking to know the forecasted sales on the basis of products and geography, and this forecasting needs to be done on the basis of past 3 years data. So that's what his requirement is, and that's what he's looking forward to know. So till the time, like when we discussed the basic building blocks of Anaplan, we had a discussion around the point around the fact that you take in the data sets, in the central library, and post taking them into the data sets into the central library, you need to move the data, or you need to focus on the calculation engine where you're going to be designing in the modules, and you are going to be putting in the formulas and functions over there. All right. So formulas and functions related with maybe the forecasting we are going to be putting in right now. So we have taken in lots and lots of different sets of data. Now probably we need to perform the forecasting, and for performing the forecasting, the formulas and functions we are going to be putting into the calculation engine, and that in turn is your module. All right. So the next topic in line for us is we are going to be discussing about modules. So, what next we should do? We should be covering the modules. All right, so a brief overview about modules. If I just say they are the key components of Anaplan model, and each module which you build is going to be performing a specific function, is going to be having some specific roles or a specific need of that. And if I tell you, like, module is a combination, or is formed by using a combination of dimension and a line item. Module is formed by using combination of dimension and a line item. And what are the dimensions? Dimensions are like time, version, or list, and line item you're going to be seeing more. But in a nutshell, if I tell you, it's more like a placeholder where you're going to be putting in the formula, function, or the values. All right, so that's what your line item is. That's what dimension is, we have already discussed. So you form a module by using the combination of both. Okay. And why you create this module? Because you can enter datas, and obviously you're going to be doing lots and lots of different type of calculations out here. And like I mentioned, made by the combination of dimension and line items. And then the question comes in, I know dimension, what line items are? So line items are more like a placeholder, which are going to be used, and that the placeholders are going to be storing in the values, functions, formulas, whatsoever. And they are more like responsible for holding in the formulas, running the calculation, or inputting the data like there on the slide. And there could be different data types of line items. It could be number, date, boolean, and list. So your, since I told, like, line item is a placeholder, so placeholders will accept certain categories or certain types of data, right? So I mean, it shouldn't be only accepting number, it be accepting the combination of either of the possible values which you can think of. So that's how your line item works. And without wasting much time into the theories, we're going to be just diving again into our probably the workspace. I'll just log in there and we'll see and discuss a little about module creation activity as well. Though we had a brief overview the other day as well, we're going to be just maybe discussing few other pointers related with the module. So this is the one model which you have been using. So these are the few different modules which you have already created. And how to create a module? You need to click on enter module name. And suppose I just follow the approach, okay, the statement which was here. As a sales manager, I'm looking to know the forecasted sales on the basis of product and geography. And this forecasting needs to be done on the basis of past 3 years data. So there are certain dimensions involved here. If I just try to understand how I'm going to be putting on this requirement into my Anaplan module, the one thing what are the dimensions here? Product is a list, that's a dimension. Geography is a list, that's a dimension. And what do you want? You want to calculate the forecasted sales. So the forecasted sales is going to be one of the line items. Why? Because forecasted sales is something which you're going to be calculating, where you're going to be putting in the formulas, right? So in those terms, this is going to be one line item which you need to enter over here. All right, so I'm just entering on the module name. Suppose, for an instance, forecasted. And if I just try to understand, I want to calculate the forecasted sales. Like I mentioned, I can take very well G3 states. I can take the products. So usually, see, I have just taken out or included these dimensions in part of my module creation activity. Now I see pages, columns, and rows. So it's more like how you want to pivot these dimensions, where these dimensions should gonna be. Either it's gonna be on pages, either it's gonna be on columns, or either it's gonna be on rows. So for rows, if you see, there are again certain line items down here. Now you need to create in a line item. Now you can create n number of line items, n number of placeholders, depending upon your suitability and need as such. All right, so what is gonna be like maybe my line item over here? Maybe I can just mention forecasted sales. So I mentioned the forecasted sales and GT states product and forecasted sales come down here. Duplicate module name, forecasted sales. So there seems to be a module already with a forecasted sales that is here. And like we discussed, I think yesterday also we discussed the same, right? I think we have discussed this yesterday, is it? No?
No.
No, it's fine. I mean, at least you will have a quick revision if we did. All right. So you have these dimensions over here, and probably it's based upon the products you see here, geographies you see here. Then you have a time dimension of the filter. You can very well go on and you just change the pivot as well if you want to. Okay. And the way it's going to be read as is, suppose you will be reading it throughout, like how much is the forecasted sales in March 18 for rice in Rajasthan region, and so on and on. Now, two things to understand here. First thing, this is called a grid view of a module. So a grid view is what? Where you can store in the data. So there are grids of data over here. There's another type of view that is called a blueprint view. So blueprint view is nothing but a configurable view of the module. So here you will have lots and lots of different type of configuration which you need to perform. We're going to be discussing about this specifically in our upcoming sessions as well, about all the options and every features which you have here in the blueprint view, how we can use them. But at this point of time, this much information is sufficient for us to move ahead, and we'll come back again and we'll see what are the other options available out here. All right, so that's a little about your modules, okay, which I wanted to discuss today. And we do understand about line item and other dimensions and other stuffs. And then we have something called disco. Now, what this disco is, let's try to understand. So disco is like, standard planning standards, or what Anaplan suggests you how you're going to be building in the modules or anything as such. So your disco is a planning standard which Anaplan suggests you to have. For an example, Anaplan tells you that whatever requirement you have, you just try to break it into these 5 different modules. So there are gonna be around these 5 different modules that you are gonna be using it for any of your requirements. Now we just try to understand what this disco stands for. There is like something called data module, there is something called input module, then there's called system, there's called calculation, and there's called output module as well. All right, so you have a data module, input module, system, calculation, and the output module. So these are the 5 different type of modules, and that's just an abbreviated version that just go over there. And if I just try to understand what these stands for, so data module, what data module is, it's more about a module which will be storing lots and lots of different types of data which you are going to be using to perform the calculation further. So for an example, in our previous example, when I say like I want the forecasting to be done on the basis of past 3 years data, so what does that mean is past 3 years data has to be loaded or fed into the system. Where it's going to be fed? It's going to be fed into the data module. Who creates data module? We as a model builder will be creating a data module. Is there any different way of creating a data module? No. Data module is just a name of a module type. Okay, there is no special configurations involved, or specifically you are creating something for a data module. No, the idea is not that. You create a module that solves the purpose of storing in the data, and that is called a data module. That's it. So that's what your data module is all about. Then you have something called input module. So the input modules are more like where the end user will be interacting with the system. So if there are something or a particular input which is required from an end user, those are going to be fed into the input modules. Then there's something called a system module. So system modules are more like a glue which holds the other modules together. So how it is like, you have different requirements. Okay, you are going to be creating maybe one or maybe some n number of system modules which solve the purpose of all those different requirements. So for an example, if I create a data module, input module, calculation, or an output module, I'm doing it for one specific requirement which I have, which I need to solve. But a system module is something which you're going to be creating in general for all the different type of requirements whichever you can encounter throughout the lifetime of an Anaplan model building journey. Okay, we'll understand more about what the system module is. It's little in practical at this point to explain, but we will understand gradually once we are moving ahead. Maybe in next 30 minutes. Then we'll discuss about the calculation module. So what is calculation module? I mean, this is obviously where the magic happens. What it means is like, you are going to be putting in different formulas, function, deriving all these calculations over here in this calculation module. And then you have something like an output module where you are going to be, displaying the results to the end user as such in your output module. Now, I still believe, this shouldn't be very much clear, to be honest. Like, since until and unless we see with an example, it becomes difficult to understand. So, what I'm going to be doing is like, I'm just going to be sharing my Excel right now. I think it's already loaded. All right, so here comes my Excel sheet. Can you guys have a quick click over here what the requirement is? I'll take a pause for a minute. Just have a look and let me know what you understand by this statement. You guys need to focus here. Can you guys just have a quick look? I'll pause for a minute. Let me know what you guys can infer with this problem statement. So, you guys need more minutes, you can let me know. Or if you have read it throughout, again, you can just give me a confirmation.
Okay, I've read it.
Okay. Rupali, very good.
Yeah.
All right. So, if I just try to understand here, what the problem statement is, rather, it feels like, it's little an extension of what we were already discussing. So, they say, I want to know the forecasting of products by geography for FY 2022. And forecasting needs to be done on the basis of past 3 years data. We do understand these points very well, right? Now, there is an extension of this problem statement out there, and it floats like, if the forecasting is as expected, then display alert all good, else action required. So it's more like, if you forecasting is something like you expected like 100 should be there, okay, then you should be displaying the alert all good, else action required. So obviously there needs to be something like baseline values which you're going to be using to compare these expected unexpected values. Then, post you get to know, like, whether all is good or else action required, you should have the power to change the expected, unexpected, auto-populated decision on the basis of past experience understanding on the trend of the product. So it's more like, the business is saying, like, whatever the forecasting you're getting, and you have something like an expected value, something like unexpected values. Ultimately, you should be having power to change these when you want to, depending upon the certain trend which you analyze from your end. Okay. So
Mhm.
apart from covering the disco right now, we will just also understand the backtracking approach of Anaplan, and that is like how you should be. attending the problem, or what your idea should be there at the base level when you get any problem statement as such. Okay, so if I just tell you, maybe as soon as I see something like this, as a sales manager, I want to see, first of all, any of the problem statement which you encounter, you need to think of a dashboard. Okay, any problem statement which you encounter, you need to think of a dashboard or a UX, or how this problem will look for an end user. So ultimately, you need to empathize with an end user and try to understand what exactly he's looking forward to. So you are going to be, roughly designing or creating a dashboard. Or this dashboard, when I'm saying you are going to be creating, it's not on a Anaplan. Rather, it's just a rough sketch, whatever you can think of. Or maybe if you don't want to create a rough sketch, you just should have a model map in your mind. Ultimately, the feel of that dashboard, how it's going to be looking like for an end user. So far, so good, right? We understand what you are talking, or is it getting somewhere blah blah blah?
Yes, understand.
Yeah, getting.
All right, awesome. So I get a requirement. I should be in a position to predict or understand what the UX or the dashboard will be looking like. Now, you understand how the UX or the dashboard should be looking like, then you should be in a position to automatically derive like what are the modules which you're going to be needing to get that result. Because the UX or dashboard is nothing but ultimately it's just a representation of module in the UX. That's it. So you also need to understand how the UX should be looking like. I mean, when you know how the UX should be looking like, you will understand what are the modules you need to create. And in turn, if you know what are the modules you need to create, you will also understand what are the dimensions required to create those modules. Because module, when you create, is going to be only a combination of the dimension and the line items. All right. So it works in parallel. It works in the combination like this. And if we just try to understand from the thinking perspective, we are just following a backtrack approach where we just first saw like how to create a module, how to have a UX, then how to create a module, and then we discussed about how or what are the dimensions which you need to include under those modules as such. Mhm. So these are the possible backtracking thought process which you need to have. And it's pretty much like the fact, like as soon as you know what are the UX or the dashboards which you're going to be including, you can very well derive like what will be the further dimensions which you need to add, and accordingly you can reach out to the business for getting in those dimensions up to your expectation as such. Mhm. All right, so that's what the backtracking approach is. And but from a build perspective, if you think from the build perspective, it's not like back tracking thought, or like backtracking way. See, you get a problem, you think from a backtracking approach functionally, but from a building it's going to be again not a backtracking, it's not going to be a top to down, but rather it's going to be down to top approach only. Now what does that mean is, until and unless you have a dimension, you can't create a module, and until and unless you don't have a module, you can't create a dashboard. So for creating a module you need a dimension, for creating a dashboard you need a module. So first of all, anyways, you have to create a dimension only, then module only, and then UX on the dashboard only. You can't have in these in other way. But the matter of fact is, from the thought process, when you think like how you're going to be putting or achieving this problem statement, then you follow the other approach. Aligned? So far so good? Confused? Questions? All well?
Yes,
Okay,
great.
great. Great. So we're going to be just further trying to, we are going to be trying to break this statement, okay, which we have, where we say like I want this to be done. So if I just see or keenly observe and think of how the dashboard is going to be looking like for this requirement, It's going to be looking somewhere like this. Okay. Now, when I say like, dashboards, like I mentioned, it's not going to be the idea that you create a dashboard, but a rough sketch. I mean, how the feel could be of a dashboard. So it has a time dimension as a filter. Then you have the products at the columns, and then you have the geographies at rows, right? And then here you see some forecasted values. So that's how it's the feed is going to be the forecasted sales. I can see by products, by geography, these are the forecasted sales. And maybe I have something like time at the page selected way. I can change it every month and see the next month, or the current month for forecasted sales, whatever I want to. And to achieve this UX, obviously there will be set of dashboards with set of module which I need to create. Okay, maybe even the module, if I think of, will somehow look like this only, where it will be a combination of these particular dimensions and the line items and the time. So I created a dashboard or UX in my mind. I understand what are the modules which are going to be created. And then in turn, I understand like what are the dimensions which are going to be created to create those modules. So for an example, if I have a module like this, I know I need a product dimension, I need a geography dimension, I need a time dimension to create a module like this, right? And I will need a certain line items. So where we started from having a thought like how my dashboard looks like. Then we concluded how a module could possibly be built. And once we concluded how a module could be possibly be built, we also concluded what are the dimensions which are required to create those modules, right?
Yeah.
So this is how your thought process should be whenever you get any problem. Because until and unless you do this, you will not know from where you have to start. Right? I mean, I give you a statement. If you just don't know what are the dimensions required, you can't start your progress over there itself. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the reason why we follow this backtracking approach, and that's one of the idea what you need to conclude. Now, coming back to our discussions of data input system calculation and output module. So, like I mentioned, you have this requirement, this output you want, and ultimately for this you need to have certain modules which you need to create. Now, possibly, one module which I can think of at this point of time is, since I say, like, the forecasting needs to be done on the basis of past 3 years data. So, I need to have at least a data module first, which is going to be storing the past 3 years data. So, what do you have? A product. So, this is how my data module could possibly look like. Again, same product dimension, geography dimension. So you have FY18 just to mark like it's past months, you past years. So you can just select one by one the filters and select the months of 18, 19, and 20 respectively. And you see these forecasted sales values over here. Oh, it's not forecasted, so it's the real actual sales, correct? So past historic sales. So I have just used the product geography dimension and time dimension, and I have loaded the past data over here in my data module. So that's what my data module is all about, where you are going to be having lots and lots of different types of datas. Once you have created a data module, possibly you need to create a calculation module. Now, what this calculation module is, like you have lots and lots of different datas with you around, but what's next ultimately? So maybe you need to calculate the forecasting. So the forecasting, when you have to calculate, there are going to be certain formulas and function which you need to write, maybe averaging, standard deviation, mean, median, mode, those sort of formulas, because you're ultimately doing some sort of prediction. So you need to create one module specifically. Now, again, this module will also have the same dimension, product and geography, but in turn, it will have different line items. There could be deviation, filter formats. There could be some conditions, baseline entered over here in this module. And you are going to be just, calculating the forecasted sales maybe here. So what you're doing, you get a data module, you are doing a calculation in the calculation module, and then as per my statement, I say I should have power to change the expected, unexpected, auto-populated decisions. So who is going to be doing this? So there is some sort of input required from the business at this point of time. So you have a product, you have a geography, and you have these many, auto-populated decisions coming in. So you may want, or you want, like, these values to be altered, or the business should come in and change these things over here, and accordingly we can very well change them up to our expectation, unexpected, whatever you want. So since we are giving an input from an end user's perspective, this is called an input module right now. And apart from this input module, you have, think it in a way like this is was the end result which I wanted. Product by geography, forecasted sales. So what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be creating one output module, and the purpose of that output module will be, it's going to be pretty straightforward. Again, it will have the product geography dimension, and it will have only one line item which will contain the forecasted sales value. So from where I get this forecasted sales value, I'll just refer the forecasted sales value from here to here. Now this calculation module was having number of line item, guys, but this output module is having only one line item which I want to display at the end user. All right. So this is what your output module is, and in turn, if I just try to okay, and in turn, if I just try to understand and combine everything together, so you have a requirement, you understood a dashboard or a UX how it's going to be looking like. Then you just moved ahead and you decided. Then there will be something like as soon as you get a requirement, you will be assuming what are the dimensions needed, and then you are going to be creating set of modules following this disco approach, where you created a data module for storing data, calculation for storing calculation, input for inputting it, and the output for maybe just storing in the other values as such. So that's what your disco is all about. And there could be a few questions like, is it like mandatory required every time you follow this disco approach? Is it possible that you follow disco for every standard whatever you use? The answer is, see, it depends. Okay, for an example, if my problem statement was still here only, I mean my usual problem statement, when I say till here I mean till this portion. Okay, as a sales manager, I want to see the forecasting of products by geography for FY 2022. Forecasting needs to be done on the basis of past 3 years data. So this area here, you see, like, you ultimately want something which will not require any inputs from an end user. Agree? Don't agree?
Yep.
Now, if you don't require an input from an end user, why in the world you are going to be creating an input module? You can't create that over there, right? So what does that mean is, like, irrespective of following these standards, you need to take a call, like where you can at least follow. It's not like you can follow when you don't have anything or you don't have a requirement as such. But yeah, if possible, you should always be following this approach. But in case, unfortunately, or whatever reason, you don't get it, that's absolutely fine. You can just stick around with having what are the possible models which you can create. But if in any interviews or anything as such, it's asked like, where you should be following disco standards, or whether you follow the disco or not, you should always be saying an affirmation, and you should be telling like, yes, I did follow the disco strategy, and that's how I used to create the modules, because that's the recommended one. Now, there could be another question like, is it like this order only, like first data, then input, then system, then calculation, then output? The answer is no. It again depends. See, in our example itself, we had input modules after calculation module, right? Data module will be okay, fine. It's going to be first module. Output module, fine, it's gonna be last module, but input and calculation module can go here and there, right? We just saw it right now itself, right? We had the input module after the calculation module, right? I have a calculation module here, and then we created an input module. So again, the answer is it depends. Okay. So that's what your disco is. That's what I wanted to cover from my end. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Else, we are going to be moving to the other topics. System module we have yet to cover. We are going to be covering next that. But meanwhile, around this discussion, do you have any questions, or are we good to move ahead?
I have a question.
Yeah,
So
please.
um on your what's it, L5 through O10, is that how you label your disco, your data is something, your input is your product? Is that how you apply your disco model here?
So you
Your
mean
sys-
here this dimension area, this area you're telling, right?
yeah, is that the answers for all the disco? Like input is product, system is geography. Is that how you correlate it?
Ah, 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 ah.
They're not together, are they?
No, 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 no. Let's not get
I was
confused.
like, I'm just kind of not. Okay, that's
No,
not
no, no.
okay.
These are different entities. Okay, so modules I'm just mentioning. You will have data input, system calculation, and output modules. Dimensions you're going to be using product, geography, time, and sales history. Oh my God, that's like I should have changed my Excel then. If it's
Oh, okay, okay.
leave it
I
like
see,
this.
I
Okay,
see.
these are different components. Okay.
Oh, okay, okay. I see. Okay, those are your dimensions product. Okay.
Okay.
So in the disco, um, do you like if I was to plan out something using the disco model, do I um write a line? Do I write a few items for the type of data I'm pulling from? For perhaps I'm pulling from the sales data, um, the input. I'm not sure what input would be. I don't know. Maybe the sales manager can type in their input or something, right? Is that how
Yes.
you fill it out?
Yes. So the input module is more like, we are going to be publishing this input module onto the dashboard or the UX. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So, so ultimately, the business will not ever have an access to the module and list. We don't do that because business folks are not the technical folks, right? You can't expect like, they will know everything. Maybe they can do some mess out there and it
Got
can
it, got
create a
it.
problem later. So we will just create an input module in the model itself, but that input module will be published as a dashboard for an end user interaction. You got it,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Mhm,
All right. Thank you.
That was a good question. Yeah. No worries. Any other thing? All right. So, in case if you don't have any other question, let's get started with our system module specifically. See, now to understand system module, okay, let's take off with an example. Like I mentioned, the first statement, system module is something which you create in a model and which will be used throughout for different requirements. So, till now, you created data input calculation and output module. It was solving only one purpose. It was just solving a purpose of having all this requirement. It was solving a purpose of handling the specific requirement. But if you have a scenario which has to be implemented or which could be used throughout the model, you're going to be creating a system model. Let's see, try to understand what it's all about. Suppose you have a legacy system, okay, and the product SKUs are coming from that legacy system. And what you want is these are the old SKU names, okay, old SKU codes. What you want in the Anaplan, this should be named as this. So triple one should be replaced by double one two AB, double one four should be replaced by double one five AB, and this should be same. So what ultimately you are doing the mapping of old SKU with the new SKU, right?
Yeah.
Now, since why you're doing this, probably maybe the business expects like you should be in a position to handle this and maybe in the ANA plan wherever this old SKU code comes in, it should be recognized with the new SKU codes. Okay, So if that is the expectation, if that is something which we want to do, then the SKU old needs to be mapped with the SKU new. And what you need to do is, like, maybe you are just going to be creating one module, and in that module itself, you are going to be having these all mapping defined. And wherever you have to, use it, or wherever you have to set up all this configuration, you can very well use this referencing. I mean, you create a mapping module, you can use this mapping as a reference to somewhere else, wherever you would just want to, maybe align or show old or new, or maybe you want to do further calculation on these type of codes.
Okay.
Okay. So in those cases, you're going to be creating one system model. There could be another example, like, if I just say, like, I want to see the forecasted sales for first day of a month, first day of a week, second day of a month, first day of a quarter, and all that, blah, blah, blah. So again, when you say like first day of a month, the system should will not understand. There's no functions or formula as such. Like what I write down a formula and I get a first day of a month. No. What you need to do is you need to specifically, explicitly create a module. Okay. And under that module, it's going to be based upon time dimension. You're going to be using, or going to be having certain line items over there, and you'll just have these line items name first day, last day, second day, whatever, and you can write formulas in such a way that the first day of a month gets selected. Okay, so probably first day of a month line item is a boolean formatted, and I write down a function. I'll tell you how to write later on. And what happens, this boolean gets selected. Now what I can do is I can very well start referencing these line items to other modules. So okay, if I have to mention, I can tell you, like, if else clause statement you write. So if you can refer this line item. So if first day of a month, then do A else B. So what the first day of a month is? If first September, then do A else B. So what happens? Like, since there could be number of requirements throughout the model where you can use these type of, referencing of the first day, last day, and all blah blah blah. So you can create one system module throughout, and that could be used by n different modules in general together. Mhm. So that's what your system module is all about. We are going to be understanding more once we start doing it. Okay. And with that said, you can complete now anything till lesson 5. Okay. So I strictly recommend you guys, please, please, please complete anything till lesson 5, at least by tomorrow or maybe day after tomorrow. But the target should be, to complete that as soon as possible. Mhm.
Okay.
All right. Next, there comes something like plans. Let's try to understand what plan is all about. So, if I just try to understand plans, let's it's over here. So, plan is again, the certain standard which Anaplan suggests you to follow. Rather, you should be making sure that your model is complied with all these standards or best practices. So what are these? So your model should be having a better performance. It should be logical, auditable, necessary, and sustainable. That's what the abbreviated version of plans is. When I say performance, you should be using the correct structure and formulas to optimize the hyperblocks. So your model should be, having a better performance. You should be writing in the better formulas, efficient formulas. For instance, you shouldn't be cascading multiple if else in a single line item, because again the loops runs in, and obviously it creates a problem. So a better approach is like, you should be creating in a way like the performance is optimized, and you should be writing an efficient formulas. Then they say you should be building the models more logically, where you should be following maybe a disco approach so that your model is more logical. Then they say you follow a standard where the model is auditable. So I mean, in general, if I tell what auditability is, it's more like, you create something, I look today and I can understand what you have created in a very very short and crisp way. If I say, I mean, you do something in your model. I have a look. Maybe a different end user have a look over there, and I can very well understand, like, how the flow is or what you're trying to do. So it's like it's easier to observe. So they say like you should be breaking up the formulas for better understanding, performance, and maintainability. And apart from that, you should be additionally creating lots and lots of different things which should be or which could be observed by different model builders throughout. So for an example, till now, whatever we have learned till date, we have followed auditability in few scenarios. Can you guys guess where we followed this auditability standard till date? Now, what I say about auditability, it's more like you do things so that the other can understand what you have done very easily. So till date, we have followed a certain standard of auditability in our practicals. What we did, do you guys remember? Can
In
you get?
subset,
Sorry.
in subset, we have done like for creating the smaller set from larger list.
Okay. So how it could be related with auditability, if you would just like to throw a light here.
Like from
No.
the larger list of product, we have created one subset, so we can use that. I mean, if any requirement is there for the subset, then we can utilize that subset over there, no?
Yeah, we can utilize, but how it's related with auditability? So auditability is more like you do something which others can understand. So subset is a feature, right, which you're using.
Mhm.
I mean, how it's related with auditability standards. Okay, any other thing which you guys can think of?
Mm.
Okay, let me tell you. So you created lists, right? You created subsets. Fine. While you were
Mhm.
creating list, you followed a naming convention G1, G2, G3.
Yeah,
While you were creating an employee list, you use the symbol employee hash. Now,
right.
what does that mean is you created something into the model. I log in and I see it's named G1, G2, G3. I automatically understand like this is a hierarchy list and possible 1, 2, 3 are the different levels aligned, right? So I can
Yes.
understand very well by looking at the just names itself. So the naming convention which you have followed for creating the list or a subset and all that is nothing but you are following an auditability standard of Anaplan over there,
Okay, got it.
right? Makes sense, correct? Yes, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. So apart from that, they say like you should be following a necessary standard where you shouldn't be duplicating expression. You shouldn't be storing the calculation, and you know you should be having the calculations and all done only on the necessary data. Then you say like you should be following a sustainability. So now they say like sustainability is more about you build with the future in mind, thinking about the process and updates. So it's more like you create something this year, maybe you should be having a thought process like how it's going to be working for the next 10 years. So and obviously there are going to be lots and lots of upcoming datas, there are going to be lots and lots of upcoming process and updates. So your model should be self-equipped in a way that it can accommodate all that stuff. So you shouldn't be creating something which becomes crap after a year. To be simply, if I just tell you to be in a very simple terms, so you should follow the sustainability example. Let's try to understand out what sustainability example could be with an example here. I mean, what sustainability could be with an example here. All right. So suppose I write a formula in Anaplan. Okay, now I write it 2021. The purpose of writing this 2021 is to refer the current year. So current year, suppose it is 2021. I write it, if 2021, then do A else B. If 2021, then do A else B. So this formula works efficiently in year 2021. But what happens if the model is moved to year 2022? The formula will not work correctly and it's going to be throwing an abrupt result, right? Yes, no, no,
I
yes.
yeah.
So if I have formulas like this, where I have just hard coded the values, later point of time, if there is to be some modification done, the formula will not work as expected, and it will be and showing you some abrupt results. So instead, a better and efficient could be way could be you just replace 2021 and instead you use some sort of variable. So suppose I write in like if y then a else b, and what I'm doing is like I'm storing the y value somewhere else, and then I'm referencing it. It's more like using variables to store the constants.
Okay.
That thought process. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what do you do later? If it's year 2022 now, you just update in one single place value of y, and throughout the model, wherever you have used y, those values gets updated, and your model will be able to accommodate the changes very fast, right?
Yeah.
So what you're doing here, you are building something with keeping a future in mind, and that's what the idea of sustainability is all about.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, why explicitly I discuss this example, like when you're in your interviews, do mention if they asked you about disco and plans, do give this example of sustainability to them. Okay, I
Okay.
strictly recommend you guys. Where I mean, if people if you okay, you can just say like instead of hard coding formulas and function, it's better if we use variables to refer. Okay, so and you can explain this example. This should be good enough for you to prove sustainability, what it's all about. And usually they ask in interview that time what's the, what plans and disco is all about. So that's the reason why I'm just telling you an example over here.
Can I ask a kind of like a little question?
Yeah,
Um,
please.
in Anaplan, do you write many formulas like this?
Yes,
Do
there will be.
you use many variables?
Yes, yes,
Yes.
yes.
Okay. All right. Looking forward to seeing it then.
Yeah, we'll discuss about this. Mhm.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else apart from that? All right. So silence, I'll take as a no. You don't have any other questions. So I'm done with the topics from my end for today. And, I strictly recommend you guys please complete anything till lesson 5 from your learning.anaplan.com. And tomorrow we're going to be moving on with the formulas and functions. And we'll just start observing how or what are the different formulas which are there existing into the Anaplan. Okay, just a quick confirmation. Like, Milu, you're okay to have sessions at 9 a.m. IST. I'm just asking. I know I've been extending it, but I'm just asking.
So what time is 9 a.m.? Is that going to
30 minutes
be?
after today. So like we started today at 8:30 a.m. I'm asking, are you okay to start at 9 a.m.?
No,
It's
no.
gonna be too late, right?
It's too late. I
I
apologize.
completely understand. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. I just wanted to check this on that. All right, then in that case, let's wrap it up for today, and we are gonna be catching up tomorrow. And the usual timing is gonna be 8:30 a.m. IST. Okay.
Okay.
All right then. Thanks. Bye bye. Have a great day ahead.
Thank you. Have a great
Thank
day.
you. Bye.
Bye. Rupali, you still
Yeah.
here? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Uh, email me. I can also share my WhatsApp too, but I don't know how to. I don't really know how to use it too much. But yeah, I mean, definitely. Let's keep in touch, Rupali.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
Am. Yeah.
Your email is your email the same or
Yeah. It's same. Let
I
me.
think I see it. Actually, I think I see it um
Yeah.
on
It's same.
the meeting invite. Yeah, yeah. I'll message you. We can encourage each other.
Oh. Yeah. 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 I mean,
Any
we can share if you have any doubt during the
for,
practice. Yeah.
for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
We'll share. Just yeah, definitely encourage each other to keep going. I now I need to do the learning to lesson 5.
Yeah.
I'm a bit behind.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think I need to just go through it because um, I saw in lesson 1 and I think lesson 2 they teach you a lot of like the how to
Mhm.
navigate through Anaplan um, that I think he went through very quickly and for new users it's probably good to just go through it
Yeah. Yeah.
ourselves.
Session 1 and 2, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. I've
yeah,
gone through that recorded session. The Abhishek one, right?
yeah. Oh, why did you start late? What why?
Actually, I was not aware. I mean, I was just checking, no? So I got to know the batch is already started. So that's what.
I
Yeah, he took.
see.
Yeah, he took 1 hour session on Sunday. So he explained the scenario like grocery one and all, no? So
Oh,
why
oh,
Anaplan came and yeah, I gone through that introduction session as well, but I miss out this calendar type, time and version dimension.
I see, I see. So, okay, I
Yeah.
see. Yeah, I don't know because when I registered, I said they told me there's a batch starting. I thought there would be more students, and it was only me.
Yeah, actually, when I register, no, it's already 3 days over. So
I
again,
see.
have to wait a month then. So I thought, let it be. I can cover up. I can uh, gone through the video session and I can patch up. So that's why I joined this batch only.
Got it. Okay, no, it's good. It's definitely good to have company.
Yeah, yeah. I've
Um,
gone through yesterday the recorded session which you guys had. So yeah,
okay.
I'm pretty much okay now. But yeah, we need to do a lot of practice. So after
I
that,
think so. I
yeah,
think so. I would just definitely I'm gonna just start going over
yeah,
the learning and just starting with the first one. You know,
yeah.
Anaplan, the second one, third one, and just really
Like
just try to understand it.
yeah, because we are getting conceptually what it does mean, but we are going actually in practical session. No, we are not able to, I mean, identify where to start, how to create model, and
Correct.
what is the purpose of that. I mean, why when the scenario will be used for, like I have mentioned, no, there is time version, so there is a lot of scenarios. So we have to do practice. After that only we got get to know like how and why it is used.
Right. That's
Yeah.
true. That's
So we
true.
can start up with little exercise like creating the list and like the example he have given, no? Like we can
Yes.
find out the forecasting sales last past years one and two, so that will build up some confidence.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. All
So
right.
as we
Sounds
have,
good.
yeah, we got the workspace, so we can try it exercise. We can see the this videos and we can just take the reference and we can start creating the models. So
Right. For
yeah,
sure. For
yeah,
sure. All right. Sounds good. And I'll talk to you later. All right. I'm gonna get
yeah, yeah.
going.
Sure, sure,
Okay.
sure, sure.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
Bye
yeah. Thank
bye.
you. Yeah, bye. Good night.
Good night.